Welcome to Conversations from the Barn at Everwood Farmstead. These are casual chats with visiting artists. Creaky barn, bugs, and all. Enjoy.
Hello.
Hello.
This is Conversations from the Barn. I'm Chris Everett, and today we are talking with the amazing Kate Sutton Johnson. She is an accomplished theater set and exhibit designer, and I'm also grateful to call her a very dear friend. And we're thrilled to have you here this week. You've been on an artist retreat. How are you doing here on a Friday?
I'm doing so great, and I just can't believe it's almost over. It has gone so very fast.
Has it?
So fast, yeah. I feel bittersweet about it coming to an end.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be sad to see you go, too. It's been so good having your energy here.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about what it is you've been working on this week.
Yeah, so I'm not here alone. I'm actually here with another artist, Peter Rothstein, who is a longtime artistic partner of mine. Peter is a director in the Twin Cities that is at the helm of a company called Theater Latte Da. And I am a freelance set designer primarily, and I actually live in the same neighborhood as Theater Latte Da. So not only is Peter kind of my sort of principal artistic collaborator, but now the Ritz Theater that houses Latte Da is also my neighborhood theater. So even more so kind of an artistic home for me. So at the moment, Peter and I have sort of entered into, I would say, a little bit of a new phase of our artistic partnership where we're starting to think more about creating new work together. And so I've sort of developed my own interest in that at the same time that I think Peter has developed his own interest in that. And he's been at work at that in a very tangible way through the programming that he's doing at Latte Da, in empowering lots of other artists to, with commissions and things of that sort, and really stewarding new work through the process. But now he's kind of, I think, using his own voice in new ways, and I am also doing that. And so because we're such a trusted team, we're kind of exploring doing that more together.
I'm so curious. You guys are working on a play together, and it feels like it's really early in the process. Is it typical to have set designer early in the conversation this much?
I don't think it is. I don't know of other folks working that way. I feel really, really grateful to have been pulled into this process in this way. I do think that when Peter and I have worked together in the last few years, I have played a role that is a little different than just the sort of traditional set designer. I have often also been the associate director of our projects, and so I've been in on all the rehearsals and kind of, at the table to respond to lots of things, not just the visual world. But because of some of the things we're working on right now, we feel like the staging and some of the things that we anticipate this project involving will be a lot about world building. And so we wanted to sort of think about what the world is where this story unfolds right from the start so that it can really impact the whole structure of the experience.
Wow, that's really cool. It's exciting to watch when the fullness of your skills in holding the art of storytelling and theater and experience and body and sound and all of it, how the two of you can circle in this way together beyond just kind of like a singular role, but in the fullness of the thing.
Totally. I mean, I think one of the things that I love working with Peter for is that Peter is very, very visual. And so some set designers might prefer to work with a director who isn't that visual so that they are really bringing that whole skill set to the table and really kind of complementing that person in an interesting way. But I actually love that Peter is really visual because we just riff off of each other and challenge each other, I think, in different ways. And I know when I describe something I'm visualizing in my mind's eye that he can really see it. I don't necessarily even have to draw something because he's such a visual person. So that makes working with him challenging, but in a really good way, a really fun way.
Well, it becomes jazz, right?
Right. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Cool. So I'm curious, doing this work in the barn with the doors open and birds and bugs and all the rest of it, How has it affected the process, or has it?
It's just, time just sort of stops in here. And I think that's why partly why this week feels like it's gone so quickly, is it just feels like we're just like suspended here in this space.
Out of time.
Yeah, yeah. We have been so lucky with weather this week. I mean, it could not be more perfect. And it's just, the sun is shining and the sky is blue and there's a breeze all day. And so there's just no resistance anywhere in the world. It just sort of feels like everything is easy here. So yeah, it's been beautiful. I particularly love the sounds of the space. It's, you sort of are lost in thought, and then you are awakened by a lot of chicken noises, which is nice to kind of pop out of all of this creative thinking that we're doing, because it can be actually quite exhausting to kind of stay in this concept mode every moment of the day. So it's good to kind of step away, and I think that's where this space is really nurturing for artists that are here, because there's all this stuff nearby that allows you to kind of take a break, and it fills you up, so you can kind of go back like underwater into the subject matter again.
This is the first time in my life I've had chickens, and the great surprise is the humor that follows chickens all the time. They're so funny looking, and they have such a playful sense of humor, and then their sound.
Right, and their whole social circle.
Yeah, and all their little habits, and the gift of an egg that just landed on your front porch yesterday.
That's right. And I felt like an idiot for just bringing it to you. Like, what do I do with this? Well, eat it.
You eat it. So I'm just curious, because it's such a big part of this place, your personal orientation and relationship to nature. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm kind of on a journey about that right now, just in my life in general. I feel like, well, first of all, we're in the middle of the coronavirus. I think all of us have maybe had some opportunities come out of this difficult situation that have been interesting. More alone time, perhaps, more time to take walks, more time to be outside. And even before all of this unfolded, I was sort of working on a daily practice that was different, that had really shifted some things for me this year, of just trying to make a really thoughtless habit out of always sort of doing a big ritual in the morning, where I could connect with nature and connect with my body, not just be a floating head, which in the past I've kind of suffered from that ailment. So yeah, I would say that it's something that is certainly making life better for me, of just accessing nature and doing it very purposefully. So it isn't what I do if I happen to have time at the end of the day.
Yeah. And what do you find that it does for you?
Well, for me, it makes me feel like I said, can sort of connect to my physical self and have gratitude around that. And, you know, I also think that there's just some things about the pace and the rhythms of nature that I feel like are there to teach us something about our own rhythms, which I think technology and, the last 100 years of American history have really driven us away from feeling in balance with any kind of cycle.
We're trying to create our own cycles.
Natural cycle, right, right. So, yeah, I would say I'm a pupil of nature at the moment.
Final question. How have you experienced beauty today?
You know, it's funny. Some of the research that we're doing today about this particular project involved, I kept getting kind of caught feeling really drawn into these images of people lying in grass and feeling like there was something to that with this piece that we're working on. And it's interesting because this journey coming from the cottage across to the barn and cutting through this grass lawn over and over again, the grass is often just soaking wet here.
Right.
And like a lot of times when I come up here, like my feet are covered in grass, or if I was wearing shoes and socks, my feet are so wet that my socks are wet. So that's just like this sensory thing of being here and like this little like commute to work.
Right.
Of going from the cottage to the barn over and over, and just noticing like how, because there's so much water here, it makes everything so lush. Mm-hmm. One of the things I was struck by here was all the moss on the paths, and it just feels like there's just...
It feels good, doesn't it?
It's amazing. I mean, everything is thriving here so much. Mm-hmm. It feels like there's just lots of life force here.
It's like walking on a bed mattress or something.
Right, right.
I noticed the same thing when we were in the city more full-time. I used to walk to work as well. And it was a little over a mile from our home to work. And after we moved to the farm for this moment full time, I felt something really out of balance even within myself. And it was that morning kind of meditative time. And my studio now is less than 30 feet from my back door. Mm-hmm. And so maybe a month or so ago, I shifted my own ritual to drop my coffee and everything off and then go walk the path. And it shifted everything in my energy through the course of the day.
Yeah.
It's remarkable to, in some ways, have that kind of energetic touch point before you dive into your work. It opens everything up.
Totally. And I think there's something about that ritual that you're talking about. It's similar to what I do in the morning. And it's an interesting combination of being really present, being in the present moment and noticing things in the present, but also giving yourself time in the morning to let your thoughts wander and to daydream a lot before you actually sit down to the tasks at hand. So not being in the present, but kind of going on these imaginative musings that you might have. And for me, sometimes when I'm doing my morning routine, I'm still waking up.
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel like I'm almost still dreaming.
That's a beautiful little liminal space to be in.
It is. I love it.
Before you put pen to paper and start getting specific, right?
Right.
It's such a pleasure. I love you, and we're all honored that you guys have been here this week. It's been such a pleasure.
I love you too, and I'm so grateful to have been here.
Thanks. Thanks for the time.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening to Conversations from the Barn at Everwood Farmstead. Our theme music is provided by John Mark Nelson. Wishing you all good health.